Based off of the mixer and everything, go ahead and put the video on though, so that way. Are we up and live?
That's fine.
We are live, so now I'm curious if it's gonna pop up on here.
What? You want me to turn it off?
No. It's the whole delay thing again.
Oh.
Boom. If you're joining in now, which I don't see no one in the chat room, then welcome to Reborn. We're still here playing with our fun new program. This thing is pretty cool. You can go ahead and kill the video now because guess what, guys? You're going to be waiting another 10 seconds or something before it just disappears. So you'll just hear our wonderful voices. So welcome. Hello. Okay. So once this clears up, we'll be able to see. Hey, there we are. So awesome. Yeah, welcome to RTV Reborn Live. Like always, sorry for last Friday. You don't eat sushi from a gas station. Very good lesson to learn. Even though it looked good, but when it has that yellow sticker saying discounted,
there's a reason.
There's a reason. And I learned it the hard way. Yeah, that's the problem.
You get food poisoning every other week.
It's not. No, I honestly, I do have serious problem with my stomach that I probably should get checked out, but have not done that yet because I don't want to end up like Brother Ed over here who only can eat paper, pretty much.
It's not because of my stomach.
Yeah, you got other stuff. Mine luckily is always just my stomach. I eat something, it'll either mess it up or I'll be okay. It's like roulette. The worst of it is when you eat and you're driving and then things could be
that could get dangerous.
That could get very dangerous very fast. But that's enough of that information out there for y'all. But welcome. I had an interesting first thing before I actually start kicking it off. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Getting ready for the weekend.
Yeah.
Ready for the weekend.
Who sings that?
I don't know.
I could tell you. My dad used to pop quiz me on songs all the time. What about you? You been good?
Yeah.
Been great?
Yeah, I've been busy with school.
Yeah, you got 2 new classes. You got.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't have 2 added ones. I switched out classes.
So you got environmental science
and
public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, school. Interesting.
She dropped physics.
Yeah.
Why? Physics is a fun topic.
No, it's not.
I remember in college, and I was taking advanced physics, and I had a professor who was very vested into his research only.
Oh, yeah. But
the first day of physics, I'm sitting down there, and he walks in. I can remember this perfectly because it was so traumatic. Walks in, turns around. His English was really, really hard to understand. But he grabs 2 pencils, and he's holding them, and he's just staring at the class for a solid 2 minutes. No words, no nothing, just staring at us. And then he drops it, and he goes, physics. And then turns around and said, let's start. And he writes this huge, long equation. I'm like, oh, I'm done. That's the first thing I could think of was like, after that equation, I was like, this is not going to be a fun semester.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, all mine was if this falls from here and it's at this speed, what speed will it be when it gets halfway through or whatever like that?
So you would calculate
No
the weight.
visuals.
You'd calculate the weight and then multiply it by gravity, which if I remember correctly is 9.8. And I can't remember if that's newtons per meter or the other way around. But you would multiply those together and then divide for the resistance that goes against it, which would be what? I can't remember that stale number. I still remember a decent amount of my math.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I went for engineering school for a reason.
Yeah.
Math to me was by far the stuff that I enjoyed the most.
I like math.
English and reading, not so much. But speaking of school and stuff, it's funny that we talk about that because that's actually what's going to be introduced into our topic is something that got brought up to me today, and that was I don't know how to study. Well, I don't think anybody knows how to really study, you know, when it comes to it. I realized I left my computer. But Yeah. But study tactics. And I know something that when it comes to study tactics, everybody has their own preferred way.
Mm-hmm.
And the individual who I was speaking to said, I just don't know if it's actually working for me. So my first question to them was, are you remembering what you're studying? Because that would be a first viable clue right there.
Yeah.
Right? Or am I wrong?
I don't know. I was real good at taking tests. I could get good grades on tests, but don't ask me to answer the question 15 minutes after the test is over.
You were one of those.
I'm one of those. Yeah, I can remember everything. I could remember what page it was on, and if I could mark in it, I can remember the picture. I can remember that if I can remember where the picture's at, and there was always, okay, that question is before the picture, like a history book or something, or a civics book. Okay, it's right over in here, and I could think my way down to it to get an answer. But don't ask me that now. I mean, that's why I mark up my Bible, because when one of the reasons I mark up my Bible, because then it creates a mental location for me of what that page looks like. And then I can go back. That way I can get you the zip code of where we want to go, and then once I get there, I know where the verse is at, right? So, okay, turn over to here, and verse 8.
That makes so much more sense now in class when you always start off like that. Just turn to this specific area, and then 2 seconds after,
especially
boom.
if I'm off the trail, if we're doing something different or been asked something different. I know where it's at. I know the zip code, but the address is when I get there.
Right.
So, and I remember that because I remember what I've drawn or wrote in. I don't draw, but what I write in the Bible in the first place. That's what helps me remember. You used to have to. You weren't supposed to write in your books when you're in school, right? Or at least when I was. So I'd use a pencil. I could mark stuff in a pencil and put stuff over on the side and give me cues, and then I could remember the cues. So. Everybody's got your, would it be your niece?
My
Brandy?
niece?
Brandy?
Yeah, that's my niece.
When she was doing FBI, she'd get little 3x5 cards, and she would come. These guys hated taking tests with her because, okay, here's the test. Take the test, and by the time they get done passing the test out to the last person, she's handing it
already in. She's super smart.
Sharp. She's sharp.
And she's always had a very interesting tactic to studying. And 3x5s was definitely the way that, when she came over and hung out with us at our house and stuff, she had the box, whip it out, she'd just read it, quiz, flip it back and forth, go to the next one.
So it's kind of like flashcard herself.
Flashcard studying. Oh. So, now, and that's...
Doesn't Christy kind of do the same thing?
Christy also does the same thing. Yeah. She how do I say this? Because she's probably watching. She is so smart that I remember in high school and college, because we shared some classes, I was so mad the fact that she was this type of student that would read over the subject and she was done. Didn't have to do it no more, and she got amazing grades. I am there up till midnight trying to figure out the first paragraph still on what's going on and studying every single night. And she would call when we were dating and stuff and be like, hey, you want to come over? I was like, I got to study still and everything. I'd be studying either at her house or my house. It's like, are you done? I'm like, no, I still don't get it. She's like, oh, I figured that out a long time ago, just by the first time of reading it.
Yeah.
I never had that opportunity or ability to have that.
I've noticed the more reading I'm doing over the years.
She just choose your words carefully.
She's wonderful.
She's absolutely wonderful.
She's one of the smartest people I know.
Super smart, super beautiful. Keep her.
Yeah. I said one of because the most beautiful girl is sitting out there. I hope your mom is on.
Anyways,
in a second. Anyway,
reel you back in.
It's gonna be a good 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sit there for like 30 seconds.
You'll know.
Then
if you hear her go, oh no, she got that. Talking about studying and study of the Bible, one of the ways that I can remember the storylines, we talked about bubbles. We've been doing bubbles here at the church for years and years. Mm-hmm. But one of the ways as I read through the scripture, and you guys will probably know right when I start this. When I think of Gideon, I think of Don Knotts and the Ghost and Mr. Chicken or the shakiest gun, so I get this mental picture, and that mental picture helps me get the whole story.
Right.
When I think of Zacchaeus, I think of Danny DeVito, right, and Taxi, and
Fabio was
Samson, and so you get those little things to help you remember, it helps you put the whole storyline together, and that's just one of the little tricks I use. And when you're talking to somebody else and you're trying to get them to understand the whole story real quick, you say Gideon's like his whole storyline's like Don Knotts,
right.
Barney Fife, just shaking on. So you get the whole. Okay, he's scared. He's scared all the time, and so you can put those things together as you read. Now, of course, younger generation isn't going to probably think of Don Knotts, right?
Yeah,
but
so I'm trying to think who would be
the younger ones,
this younger generation.
Yeah, so you put together those pieces, and one of the other things that I think that works for me, but this. Again, it's the way my mind works, is I study and you learn patches, or what we call bubbles. Okay, I learned this about Adam and Eve in Genesis, and I remember this about Noah, and then I get this about Jacob, and I get this, about Abraham. And so you get these bubbles, and as you learn more, eventually the bubbles run into each other. And so you learn it by the piece. There's pieces, and I think everybody tries to read the Bible like it's a novel, and you can't. Because it's not. One is you got 66 books, not one big book, and you go through, even within a book like Genesis, you're going to have Adam and Eve, you're going to have Enoch, you're going to have Noah, you're going to have you just go down the line. So you've got storylines for each one of those.
Right.
You pick your main characters and learn those, and then you start to delve into the others after you get going. But that's another study technique that people can use. And once you stop trying to read the Bible as a novel, and start reading it, just what's these 3 chapters about a king. So that's it, right? And so go to the next one, and go to the next one, and go to the next one. Instead of trying to at first and it does link together, but before you start trying to link it together, just understand the big characters plots, right, that's going on in there. Abraham's a big character plot, Jacob's a big character plot, Joseph's a big character plot, and I think John Yates, if you remember his 10 things, he take you from Genesis to Revelation with these 10 thoughts,
right?
And it's the same principle.
Yeah.
Same kind of principle.
So let me start throwing some corkscrews and a couple rocks out there, just for diversity's sake.
Okay.
When it comes to tactics like that. So what would you do if like a certain individual had kids and stuff, and of course if they had a study with the child but they want to kind of do one of their own too, and they're choosing to do it like late at night, how would you help
with the kids or without the kids?
Without the kids.
Oh,
like
without
they
the
do one in this environment with the children, but then they want to do one specifically for themselves, more advanced.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say would be a good tactic to do both, but also gain like on your more like on the advanced level, so that way you can gain more whenever you start teaching the youthful, like your own individual kids.
Your own individual kids. Well, sometimes it's you get the depth. You study the depth of the Genesis account, Adam and Eve, and then you pull the piece. Here's, God created everything in 6 days, right? And it was 6 literal days, and teach that to the kids. But I've learned more stuff, right? And then here's Adam and Eve, and here they were before the fall, and everything was good. And then here's after the fall and what happened, and really just big snapshot pictures. But in order for you to do that, if you want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, is what you want to do, right? I'm going to study down in the depths of it, and then pick out what's the thing I want to share with my kid,
So kind of having like
I
that
don't want
one
to share.
step.
I'm not going to share with them the what's the 3 types of sin: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. I can't do that. But they committed a sin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because they wanted this thing instead of what God wanted. That's it. But I learned that all 3 of those things come into play when Eve sinned, when she finally ate the fruit, and then Adam ate the fruit. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. So I would study at that deeper level and then bring it to where the kids are at. When they have me do the vacation Bible school and teach and stuff, find out what are you teaching this week, right? What was the thing that you talked about, and then I'll find it and then let me hit high level on it, right? Because it's not going to do much good to let me tell you about what this means or what that means.
Right.
But for me, I want to know that. And the other thing is being able to, with those bubbles, being able to make those connections across. And first I got a bubble, and this is what I've got. And then I got a bubble, and that's what I got. The deeper I go, those bubbles start to come together, right? And so I can study with these things. I'm a big proponent of having the right commentary and using the commentary. The Bible studies, the study Bibles that we give out, those are good, but they're very high level. They make a mention of something, and
See, I'm glad you
they're
brought
right,
that up because
not right, but that's where the church comes in, where you're supposed to ask the questions, right? And
Right.
get the answers. And then that's why we have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 or 6 commentaries out there in our church resource library. People can go from something that's 8 to 10 foot deep, the Worsby studies, and stuff that goes much, much deeper. And so just wherever they
like
want to
scuba
go
diving.
with it, going deep, on that stuff. And then they can do that. People that have Blue Letter Bible, they have commentaries in them. I know U version Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were doing at camp, right?
Yeah.
I think they've got a commentary. There's a Bible Hub. It's got commentaries in it, and you find the one that you can basically, it's okay. I'm understanding this at this level that tracks with me on this. We got some out there that just give you the verse. Here's what these particular words mean in the Greek or the Hebrew, and then real quick, but it's real quick shots, but they're real deep.
Right.
And then I have to go research this some more.
See, and I'm glad you brought that type of stuff up because I'm here trying to play as the people who I got the responses from.
Mm.
So it gives more of an insight. So when it comes to commentary, let's dig at that a little bit. A person wants to know how do they know they chose the correct commentary?
Yep.
Because he said for him that the King James Version is so hard for him to translate and understand the meaning and everything. So he likes to tend to revert back to like NIV or English Standard language to have a better understanding. But then he feels like maybe the translation gets skewed.
It does.
And he's worried about if the translation is skewed, but then I don't understand the King James. Am I at fault for trying to study that?
Well, there's a couple different approaches to this. For me, one is if you got the King James Bible and you go, I'm not going to read that. Well, that doesn't do you any good. Well, I'll read this Bible or I'll read that Bible. That's better. But as we've done a few times in our classes, we'll go, here's King James, New King James, ESV, CSB, NASB 95. NIV, and we'll line them up there and we'll show a verse and it'll show you all the other verses, match them up, and they don't say the same thing.
Right.
But the problem is the better ones like the NASB, NASB 95 particularly. If you said you can't read King James or New King James anymore, what would you read? I'd probably have to go to NASB 95. The New American Standard, but I'd use the 1995 version of that. and that's just me from studying. If you go, I disagree, I think the 2001 would be okay, whatever. But the if you take it, this is where those parallel Bibles come in and work. You say, well, I want NIV and King James. Okay, well then read your NIV, but then reference back to your King James and go, I don't think that word's the same. I don't think that's the same thing. And then there's this one really unique trick that you can use with the King James Bible, and that is a Webster's dictionary. Because most of the time, if you can't understand the word, or you go, that word doesn't mean the same thing today as I think it means there, you can go look it up in the Webster's and it'll tell you. Most of the time, if you go down through the 1 through 5,
It'll have
those,
that
it'll have it.
Shakespearean word.
Yeah. So that's another way to help. But the thing that I found, because I've read through NASB 95 and I've read about 4 times through the New King James Bible, and I was like, okay, I get it. But the more I went through it, the more I'm going, yeah, but I know what this says, and it's missing it. It's missing this thing here. There's a thing called the meter, how you read something, and of course this is having to do with. I'm used to reading King James because I've been doing it for 60 years.
Right.
So I'm used to the meter and how it runs. So when I try to read something else, it just doesn't. It doesn't flow. Even the New King James, it doesn't flow the same. And I went through New King James and King James and I go, that's not the same word. And I go look it up and I go, in the Greek it is. They use different words, King James and New King James, but when I look them both up in the Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic, they're using it means the same thing.
Same thing.
The problem that I think folks run into, and there is a humongous debate that goes on in which is the right version of the Bible to use. I mean, that is humongous.
Right.
And some will go, well, King James is good, but it's hard to read. It's written at. I remember when I first started reading King James, they said that the King James Bible was written at an 8th grade level. 8th grade level, with all their magic potion stuff that they put it in the system. They go, it's at an 8th grade reading level. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago, 2020, 2021, I was seeing the survey again. It says it's written at a 12th grade level. What happened? KJV didn't change.
Right, the words never changed.
Our ability to comprehend
and study.
has gotten, our reading capabilities gotten different. And I've even heard freshman or sophomore in college level, which is pretty tough. I mean, that's pretty hard to think that's where people have gone to. But King James never changed. So how did they go from 8th grade level to 12th grade levels? Because the 12th graders are reading at an 8th grade level, right? But again, which Bible will you read? I've had one person, dear friend, got him the Thompson Chain Reference Bible. It's an NIV, and he started reading it, and he was going along with me when we were doing our studies, and he'd said, when you said this, I looked at mine, and when you paraphrased it, that's exactly what my Bible said. He thought I was reading from NIV.
Mm-hmm.
And we went on, and 3 or 4 weeks later, that's exactly what and then about 3 or 4 months, he goes, that's not what NIV said, and that's not how. And the third time it happens, he said, I'm getting rid of this NIV. So whatever it was we were in at the time, it was far enough off. He goes, mine said exactly the opposite.
Right.
I think when it said the opposite, he goes, okay, I'm done with it. But which takes us back to the commentaries. I like if you look at the commentary or the notes that are in Bibles, I like one I like that doesn't have a lot of notes, but the notes are good, is a Rory Study Bible. But even in that, you'll go through my Bible and there'll be places where I disagree, and you're always going to do that. I think you got to take some of the information that, if it makes you kind of do the little RCA dog with your head tilted a little bit, you might want to go, okay, well, let me study that some more and find out because sometimes you go, oh, they were right. And other times you go, no, I know that's wrong.
Right.
But none of them, I don't know that there's any of them that you can go, are they 100%? One of my favorite Bible commentaries two. One is written by Wolford, which is the Revelation of Jesus Christ, which is a commentary on Revelation. Well, you go through that book and read it, and it's like 95% of everything he says you go right on board with, but then there's other stuff you go, I don't know about that. And the other one is John Phillips. I love his commentaries, but every once in a while his commentaries will there be something. I'd say probably 90% of what he writes is good. Now there's others, Gundry and folks like that there's too much. I mean, I'll give you one that people probably know is Habermas. I think he's on the radio. The Bible Answer Man, and he did one, and when he did it, and I read through that, and there was just yep, nope, yep, and it's like there's too many nopes, and it made it too hard to read. So I was like, I'll let someone else, review that book, because I don't want to spend all my time going, I don't know, I do that when I'm doing my own messages, and I'll pull up like 3 or 4 commentaries or 5, depending on what I'm doing, and I'll go through there. And if we're all in agreement, I figured if all these professors are in agreement, then I'm probably on the right path.
Right.
If 4 of them agree and 1 doesn't, then I don't kick out the 1. I have to look and see what the 1 is saying. But that's when you're getting into some studies and such on that.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Kaya update our social media pages, which I hope all of y'all are following, and put out those commentaries that you recommend and stuff. So that gives you an ability and option to look up and maybe invest in something like that. And then what I'm going to do now is, because I want to touch multiple topics, and I know commentary is a big thing, but something that you said earlier really caught my attention, and we joked a little bit about it, and that was the depths of the studying.
Yep. I got one more, and it's
TikTok.
I know, it's just super easy. It's in this one, if you ever find one at a that's the only way you'll probably get it, is a half-price bookstore or at a garage sale. Liberty Bible, Liberty Old Testament and Liberty New Testament commentaries. Those are excellent. They're you're flying at 50,000 feet. They're pretty high level. Gets into a little bit of depth, but mostly it's high level. And the Worsby stuff goes down a little bit lower, but it's still pretty high level too on what it does. So a person can read. You can read the Worsby Bible commentaries as a book. Right. And that's how easy they are to read and follow it through on that. Even if you don't even have your Bible, you just read it. I used to take them and read them on planes when I was going back and forth from Boston and stuff. And
so you were very literal about the whole altitude.
Both literally and figuratively. That's true. And you know what, the B series, back to what you said about the kids, it's good because you read that, it gives you a high enough level that you go, I can explain this at this level to my kids or my grandkids, and then while I got the depth or some depth, I still get it up there.
See, and I thought that was a great question because, if you think about it, that could be an honest struggle, because obviously if you've had more years in your child and in your study lives, you don't want to keep studying at we'll call it an elementary grade level on your studies, because then you feel like you don't get nothing out of it. But yet you want to be able to provide more on their studies, so you want to be a step forward on what they're about to learn. That way you get the depth. So you're gaining something as well as they're going to gain something on their next lesson.
You just find when you're studying at your depth, you find one good nugget, right? And normally when you started digging, you find one good nugget and go, okay, I want to bring this, let's tell this, show that.
And don't you worry, I got questions for you too coming right up, so be on your toes
on your
here.
Commentary studies.
Yeah, absolutely. Because something, and I will take a quick little tangent, and this is going to be applied towards you, me, and you. I had somebody reach out, a couple actually, have been reaching out about giving our own reviews on things. And I will say, and I'm going to go ahead and put it as a disclaimer right now, these are our opinions. So don't be like, I give you my opinion. I feel like it worked out fantastic for me. 9 times out of 10, it may not work out the way I study it versus how you study it. Yeah. So I will go ahead and throw that disclaimer out. But yeah, I think that would be a fun challenge for each one of us. If you want us to just pick something ourselves, and we'll all provide our own feedback on certain podcasts like you asked, which it should always be Reborn. That's a positive feedback right there, right now. Just knock that one out. But no comments yet on that one. Remember, we're ahead of them.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Tick tock, tick tock.
We'll see it pop up here shortly. Unsubscribe. But that study book reviews, different Bibles, anything like that, we'll actually meet up at probably here in the next couple of days, and we'll start getting a plan out, and that way we'll introduce it to you, because that sounds pretty fun and a good opportunity to help you learn and grow, as well as we take an opportunity to grow more with it. But to go back now, I'll bring it back in, is the depths. So one person I had particularly was saying that, they've been a Christian for almost 12 years. And this was from a person from the land down under.
Okay.
So, which is pretty cool to know that. But
where women roar and men thunder?
Yeah.
Okay, got
so
it.
I hope I just didn't lose them for this, but
Yeah.
but
Vegemite sandwich.
Have you ever tried Vegemite?
I've heard it. No, I don't want it.
So at my daughter's school, they do a country night or something like that, and they're supposed to do the foods from the countries. Well,
I've smelled it.
She had Australia. So there was fairy bread, which is a thing, which that's delicious. Yeah. It's bread, butter, and sprinkles.
Oh, well, there you go.
Super, super good. And then there was Vegemite on toast. To my Australian viewer,
God bless you if you love it.
It's almost as bad as beans on toast. Which is from the UK, which my UK viewers, I'm glad y'all enjoy y'all's food. Yes. That's all I have to say.
Apparently you've got better ingredients in your food than we do. So,
but to circle back.
Yeah.
He feels like he's dishonoring his faith because he's trying to study at a very high level, but he's having a hard time grasping the depth of that study. To me, I feel like no matter how far you are in your journey, I don't think that should grade where you should be at on your studies. To me personally, I feel like if you're still struggling at, say, a third grade level, then obviously there's things that you need to still focus on that to go to that next level. Or we can call it tiers instead of calling it grade levels. If you feel like you're trying to get to that tier 1 study, but you're here stuck in by 5 years of tier 3 studying types, then
the ones that's really working or trying to study.
Thank you.
That's different than the ones that don't ever.
Right. They just jump into the deep end.
Or they don't study at all. But I would say this is why God put the church. One of the reasons why the church is there is find a Bible preaching and teaching church and get in and engage like we do, where you ask the pastor, let's think it through. That's one of the reasons I heard somebody on a YouTube thing. He said, exegeting the scriptures lazy. It's like, well, going verse by verse. It's like, well, I've heard just the opposite by some pretty renowned guys, that they say you need to exegete the scripture and teach it verse by verse. And one of the reasons is for that, because if you topic, you always jump around and use this verse and use that verse, but you never really hit on everything that's like in a particular letter or in a book. And by going through that, it helps by, like when I go through the teaching, when I say this is a passage, it's not one verse by itself. It's here's 6 verses together, 4 verses together. Then you learn to find where those passages, so you maintain context. That's where people normally get messed up on interpretation, is they lose the context. Well, this one verse says this. Well, it really doesn't, because you had to read the whole passage to understand he was making fun of that, or he was being sarcastic.
Right.
Paul was good at sarcasm in his letters. And if you just read that one thing, well, he said this, but he was being sarcastic when he said that. So that's what people need to eat. And so you start learning to read the Bible literarily, not literally You do take it literally, but you got to take it as the literature is written. If it's poetry, it's poetry. If it's history, it's history. When it's science. The few times it is. When you take it and break it out that way, say, okay, I'm seeing what this is now. Proverbs is tough because Proverbs is written one verse by itself, one verse by itself, one verse by itself, and then 6 verses go together. And then one verse by itself, and so you have to be able to read it and see it as that, or it really. But that's what you should have, a Bible teaching, preaching church that will go through that stuff and show you, because they're not just teaching you what's in the Scripture, but teach you how to study at the same time.
Right.
How to look at it at the same time.
So you would tell this individual, don't feel discouraged.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I would say if they're not in a good Bible study group, church, then they need to get in that, because that's one of those ways you're going to find out. Also, for me, it's YouTube, maybe podcasts for somebody else, but there are college courses that are on YouTube that are free, and you can go out and watch those. Right now,
You know,
I'm
this was
struggling.
the best time to plug in your channel, but clearly you didn't do it.
I'm struggling. I've been for years and years. Ezekiel 38 and 39. I've gone through 3 college courses, and I've gone through some pretty sharp old guy preachers, Messler and some pretty sharp folks, listening to it, trying to get to understand it better. So it's not just me reading it. Sometimes I read it and go, I'm just like everyone else. Like, I don't know what that said. Find the smart guys and let the smart guys help you. But the smart guys are just like in the books. You have to read it. The commentaries, you have to read it and go, I don't know if that's right. And then other times you go, yeah, okay, that works. But the other thing, and this will probably throw some off, is I'm not looking for denominational understanding. I'm looking for, what does the Bible say? So you might be Seventh-day Adventist, Church of Christ, Baptist, Methodist, whatever. Don't care about the denomination. What does the Scripture say?
Right.
And that kind of creates a purist attitude, right? So if I'm if I don't know if we have Seventh-day Adventists, we're going to just, if I are, you might need to go say a prayer right now, because I'm not going to. The Seventh-day Adventists, you can't read through that very far and realize that belief that the Sabbath is still engaging today. You can't get that, right? But not because we're Baptists, not because we're Methodists, we're not. But what does the Bible say? Right. Right. And that is the nut of the whole thing.
By pulling the denomination out, just giving that purist mindset, it helps out a lot.
Just have to, and that means that there's Bible teachers, commentaries that I don't agree with. I don't agree with some of their theology or doctrines, but I'm not going to ask them. I'm not going to go to them for those pieces of doctrine. I agree with them on this doctrine, and so I'm going to listen to see what they have to say. But I try to put together, for any message that I create, at least 3 other people I'm getting input from. Right. And then sometimes it's more than that, depending on how complicated it is to try to explain it. But you just pick one. Like I said, the Liberty commentary is good. The Warren Wiersbe's stuff is really good. You go through that, and if you get stuck on it, find somebody to ask the question. It never hurts. You can come in to ask. Ask us. Here, we'll try to answer. We got the
social media pages that Kaya constantly checks. Yeah. So feel free to always throw it out, because either she can answer it or she can throw it to one of us.
There's another one that and it's been it's a website that I've been pretty impressed with. Actually, I use it when some people ask me questions. It's like they say it faster and shorter than I can, and that's Got Questions, gotquestions.org, and they remember that they got good answers for the stuff that's out there.
Well, let me shift gears real quick, because I'm going to actually go towards Kaya now.
No way.
So
here she goes.
And we got a little bit of the depth and the knowledge over here, and now I'm going to ask you from a younger viewpoint on what do you do on your studies? How do you study? What tools do you use for the youth out there, not for the Luby gang?
Bluebies.
Which honestly, it applies towards everyone.
I do need to be lubied up. Yeah.
Oh goodness. So how I study, this is how I study majority of everything, but for the Bible I like take notes, I highlight, I underline the things I don't understand. I'll go and research it beforehand. Before I actually go and read it, I'll be like, okay, I know where I'm reading, let me go and search it up on YouTube or whatever.
So kind of like a pre-study to the actual study itself?
Yeah. If it's somewhere I know I've never read before, that's what I'll do. I'll be like, okay, I know I've never read this before, so I'm going to go and look into it. Like, whenever I was first reading Ruth, I went and I watched videos on Ruth, basically. So, that's what
kind of like getting the cliff notes before you actually...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can kind of make sure I'm...
Getting the storyline ready.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can kind of understand what's going on before I go and read it. And what else?
On your note taking, do you use a separate notebook, or do you like
I use a
all your
separate
notes
notebook.
on your Bible?
I use a separate notebook. My Bible's not that big. I have a lot of commentary at the bottom of my Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But use a separate notebook for that. And besides that, I use Bible Hub too. But only, for me, Bible Hub, it's so difficult to use because you have to read through each individual verse. I want it to just be whole summary of all the verses that I want. Be like, okay, this is what I want to get out of it. But no, it's each individual verse you have to read through and each individual word.
Would Logos be a good tool?
Logos is expensive.
That is true.
Bible Hub is really good, but
Well, it's free.
yeah. Well,
I don't know about you version. Blue Letter Bible. It's got like the Bible Knowledge commentary. That's another good one. Bible Knowledge commentary in there with it, and so you can. Here's your Bible here, and then you flip. You do a little swipe, and then the commentary would be where if you got it tracking on it.
Yeah.
So,
Bible Hub is really good whenever you just want the answer for one verse. But if you're trying to get it for a whole chapter, you're going to be there for a while. Like.
So my question to you then would be, what helps you retain what you study?
I take notes. That's
The note taking. That's what helps
me,
you
yes.
identify and memorize and.
And also like right after I read it, I'll be like, hey mom, I read this and this is what I got out of it. Talking about it afterwards helps me be like, it's like
that's
memorization.
very important.
It's like, okay.
That's very important.
Like sometimes I'll do it with my school. I'll be like, hey mom, I was in this class and this is what I learned from it. It helps me kind of retain the information of like, okay, this is what I learned. That's the same thing I'll do with the Bible. Whenever it's something that I want to remember, I'll be like, hey, this is what I learned from it. I got this and this and this out of this verse or whatever.
Very nice.
Yeah, I've heard one professor one time said if you want to learn it, teach it. Because you study it to teach it, and then when you're talking,
it activates.
Remember it again. Yeah. You remember it again. Yeah.
What is and I want both of y'all's opinion on this, is what do y'all think about audios studies? So, like, if you're listening to everything instead of reading it and writing it.
Some people are audio people, and like Laura, she listens and knows stuff. I want to watch if I can.
So you're visual versus.
I'm more visual.
What's the correct term?
Well.
Anyways, we don't want to sit here for 30 minutes.
But that's why if you look at my Bibles, you'll see I've written stuff down. I've pointed an arrow to something. It looks like I'm doing some sort of equation or something because I'm putting it all over here and there. But I remember that. I remember it that way. I circle certain words. For some reason, abomination and all. Those two words I just keep seeing, and when I see them, I circle.
Really?
All unrighteousness, all sinned, all. It's like, man alive, and see how that comes up. But you just pick on, you see those things. And
right.
I'm going back through Genesis right now, with the new Bible I'm marking up, and going back through. And years ago, I saw when did they start? When did they start building an altar? Well, God built the altar for Adam and Eve. They don't see an altar again, and then you don't see an altar until after Noah gets off the ark. And then when did Abraham build an altar? And what happened? And then first you start noticing
Sounds like the who, what, when, and where, and
when
why.
they built that. When did he build an altar? And then he built a second altar, and then he built a third altar. And you find that when he gets away from his altar, he gets away from God, and that's when he tells everybody Sarah's his sister, and you get away from that. And now I was looking at Jacob. Jacob, he's an old used car salesman, right? And when did he build? He only built 2 altars ever.
Right.
And it was late in his life till he did that. So it's
So
just
you're
you
visual.
catch these things. You catch these things, and then you start. Okay, let me mark that. Here's Jacob's first altar. Here's Jacob's second altar. And
Right.
so I have those marked out there.
So
You get used to finding stuff. You get used to, okay, I know, it's kind of like the movie, right? I know what's coming. I know what's coming. I know what's coming.
So let's get yours now.
Mhm.
Are you more visual, or you think
More-
you would learn more in a audio style?
More visual, and I know that because it's like if I'm just listening to something, I can listen to it and go and do other stuff. But you can ask me what I just listened to, and I'm not gonna be able to tell you because like my mind is where like if I'm not reading it, I'm not paying attention to it. Like it's that simple. Like I need to be able to make sure because my mind's always like all over the place. I'm like, okay, I need to do this, that, this, and then I forget what I'm listening to for myself. So it's very much more of like I need to visually read it.
Visual and pretty much the
Yes.
touching part of it. That and then the speaking.
And if I'm listening to it, if for myself also, if it's not visual, like in the videos where they'll have like their little PowerPoints here and there, which really sucks for school because I expect it. If it's important, I expect the words to show up on the screen. So in school, whenever the words don't show up on the screen for the most important part of the video, that doesn't really help. So I would say that that's one thing that's like...
Which is very interesting because I actually know a person who could be doing things and listen to whatever they're doing, and then they could literally speak it out. Like they were literally working on stuff, and I asked him, I was like, do you even know what you listen to? He said, yeah, they explained it all to death. And I'm like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So it shows, and then for you, the viewers out there, is like, it never hurts to experiment with different types of study habits and methods. And if you feel like writing it out, reading it, the visualization part of it is not helping out, go ahead and take a stab at the audio side of the world and see if that starts helping you register and learn and absorb all those abilities.
Yeah, I believe from the Word of God standpoint, just that, not other books necessarily, but that in particularly, you put headsets on and listen to that, and you may not always remember everything, but it's getting in there.
Right.
It's getting in there,
The
which
absorption
is important.
of it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to actually cut it off here because this is actually a very fun topic because there are so many methods and so many ways to study. And I think definitely next Friday we're going to go a little bit more in depth and a little bit more hardcore.
Yeah.
And I think we'll try to each bring some type of thing that we use that may be able to help you.
Yeah. And just one of my last tag out on this is that when if you try to take notes the same way all through your Bible, that will mess you up because you look at some of the stuff like Genesis and Exodus, it's history. And so if you try to write it, you go over to Paul, and Paul gives you lists in his letters. So you go, okay, how do I make the list? Well, you don't. Over here, it's a history. You give blips on history. Over here, you write them out and give the definitions. They're different how you do it. That helps. That really helps because now you're going, I can't make this fit that. Well, you can't, and make it make sense to you. This is history, poetry, the Psalms and the Proverbs. That's different. So you conduct. That's why when you look at someone that wrote that does a commentary on Proverbs, it doesn't go Proverbs 1 through chapter 1 and then chapter 2. It's like, here's these thoughts in chapter 1, and here's the thoughts in 2, and here's the thoughts in 5, and here's so they're breaking all that stuff up anyway. You go, wait a second, I'm going to read across that all the time. But that's how you get to understand those things. So just just don't get upset because your note taking doesn't work.
Right, and we'll definitely talk about more of like the note taking styles, because there's actually different methods of note taking. I remember different professors always showing their method of how they took notes and how much it helps them, and I always try to adapt like the way the teacher does, because I want to see exactly like his thought process and how does this go to there to there to there. I mean, there's styles where I can't remember the actual term of it. It's where they have the slash. They'll give like a broad description, go to the slash, broad description, and they'll index to the subnote that references like something. I can't remember that method, but there's a lot of stuff that I would actually think would be cool to kind of introduce, and maybe those are things that will help you do your notes taking skills. And I know you mentioned it once, and I thought it was a sign because I had the other person mention it, and it would be probably a good, cool way to introduce our review styles in our channel and stuff, and that's, I think it was called the Spiral Bible.
Spiral Bible, yes.
Spiral Bible.
It's a note-taking Bible.
Because I know for me personally, I've always, and you can ask my mom, you can ask Christy, I am so weird about books. Like legitimately weird, where I don't like creases in them. When I read it, I'm very careful. 9 times out of 10, I'll either go to an audiobook or go digital. Because I don't like it damaged, and I hate writing in it. So I think this would be a cool one.
Kindle? Like most of my books I read are on Kindle, but in Kindle you can highlight what you see something.
On the Kindle?
Oh yeah, you can highlight it, and then you can tell it to take what you've highlighted or take your notes. So you can highlight it and then click and go, I want to put a note in here, write a note in that, and then go up to the menu and say, share my notes. And you can email it to yourself. And so then you've extracted it from the book onto what, if you wanted it hard copy, you could have print it.
That's pretty cool, because I use OneNote for work, for all my note taking. I've stopped using that.
I use Xmind. I've been transferring over to Xmind.
Xmind, and I use Cognos. Coggle. Not Cognos. Cognos is a program of work. Ignore that.
Great,
name.
we got to kill each other.
Yep. I would not be good at that type of a job. But Coggle, I use that for a lot of the Reborn stuff, which helps out a lot, especially with my book that I've been writing. But that's another thing. Yeah, I mean, we could literally talk hours on different things. Coggle's a really cool tool that I recommend a lot of people. You introduced it to me. But yeah, we're going to cut it right here.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about the Spiral Bible, because I think that's actually pretty cool, because I think I might invest in something like that, because that will actually push me to actually write into it, because I have a bad tendency when I note take is whatever I find that I can write on, and then I lose it.
And then you lose it, yeah.
I have a very bad problem with that. Yeah. I mean, I work with a person that when we're in meetings, he would grab, even if there was a paper plate left over from the meal that people had.
I know that person.
He'll grab the paper plate, write the notes, look at it a couple times, and leave it and go to this next meeting. I'm like, I pull the paper plate, I'm like, he took some really good notes. I throw it in my backpack.
According to your paper plate.
Right. I did that actually in one meeting when he was in there. It's like, well, you said this. Like, I don't remember saying that. Like, well, on this paper plate you had here. He started laughing really hard.
Yeah.
But we're gonna end it there. Next Friday, we're gonna definitely go more in depth about note taking and study habits and stuff like that. This is actually a really cool and fun topic to dive deep in, because I think it's something we all can seriously relate to.
Yep. And it's always changing.
It's always changing. There's a serious technique, but it's technique for you as the individual, not as a whole group. It's what works for you, just like diets. But we're going to go ahead and cut it off here. If you're not following our social media pages, please make sure you like and subscribe. Kaya takes care of all of our social media stuff. If you have questions, actually, if you have any questions that you want to ask us for our next episode, throw them in there now, because Kyle will bring all those up to us, and that gives us enough time to kind of introduce those methods that help you out. Or if you have any hints or tricks, we'll have it where it's posted on our next video and stuff, because we love this program. We can actually now put it on there, and that's pretty neat. I'm getting too excited for that.